Steve Summers and Erik Skopil for EUGENE.com. Erik, we're here after practice on Wednesday. It sure looks like the Ducks have completely recovered and rebounded from last week's loss to Stanford and are getting ready for Utah this.
Yeah, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean, Oregon kind of, this has kind of been the status quo all along, is that they're going to respond to whatever and they're going to move on from it. And I think they've done a good job this week, at least from all the people we talked to today. We'll have 3 interviews up, and I think if you listen to them, I asked each of them a question about that, and it sounds like all of them have really progressed from that and are now looking forward to Utah.
Well, in fact, from listening in, it just really sounds like they put that quickly in the rearview mirror, and it's really the only time they're thinking about it is when all the media out here is asking about it.
We're making them think about it. Yeah, we're the only ones still talking about it, I guess.
Now, we didn't see Marcus Mariota today. This is Wednesday. This is a day he normally is not available to talk to anyone. But probably that's the big question coming up this weekend is how is he going to perform? We know he's practicing. We know he's throwing.
Yeah.
The running part, that's something we're not quite sure about.
Yeah, this is a week where we really wish we could go watch a couple practices to kind of get a feel for what he is, where he is at physically, because we all watched him on Thursday against Stanford. Really appeared not to be very mobile. Looked like he was kind of struggling to really put much weight on that leg when he had to tuck it and go. So. He said he's for sure going to play. He was asked if he was 100%. He kind of gave him a glare and said, I can't tell you that. That's something you can't know. So we'll see. Jeff Locke, it sounds like we talked to him yesterday. There's obviously quotes from him online. Sounds like he's ready to go if he needs to replace Marcus if Marcus is not 100%.
Well, I know that from the official website, there's been stories coming out about Marcus Mariota passing the ball, hitting receivers, having a lot of success doing that.
Yeah.
And that's something that the Ducks have done all year, though, is throw the ball around.
Yeah, and that, against Stanford, I know the completion percentage wasn't as good, but on those fourth quarter drives, he looked pretty effective throwing the football.
Well, probably, though, the big thing about the Stanford loss was not so much, in my mind, not so much about Marcus Mariota's ability to run the ball, but about the offensive line play and the defensive line play. What's going on there?
Well, the thing that was interesting yesterday was Nick Aliotti being, frankly, very candid about the decision not to go to a big package. He said yesterday that they had actually practiced one all week, but then elected not to go with it. Said initially it was because they didn't know if they could get the substitution package out there quick enough, but in retrospect, he believes he could have. So that's an interesting thing. I know that kind of incensed a number of Duck fans on the message board last night, kind of realizing that they might have been able to do something differently and elected for some reason not to have. So we'll see going forward. Utah, not exactly the same team as Stanford, but Utah's a team that beat Stanford. We'll see if Oregon changes things up at all defensively.
Well, one thing that Stanford did against Oregon is something they did all year is that they ground the game out, and that's something they've done all year long. So it wasn't something they prepared specifically for Oregon. So, and that's always a good point to remember. These teams prepare what they're going to do from fall camp, actually from the spring workouts to fall camp for months. And at this point in the season, they're really not going to change things too drastically.
Oh, that's true. But, obviously they had something in place that they decided not to use. So I thought that was an interesting piece from yesterday's media day.
Well, that's hopefully that's something that they probably have got tucked away, and we'll learn from that. But this is a different opponent, and so we're not expecting to see the same sort of thing from Utah.
No, but Utah is still very good defensively, lead the conference in sacks. Offensively, they're a good kind of combination of run and pass. Wilson, I think, is second in the conference in interception, so he has a knack for turning it over, much like Connor Halliday did. But a different attack, and they've proven, obviously, that they can beat good teams, beat Stanford this year, took Oregon State to overtime. Only one conference win this year, but still a very potentially a very dangerous opponent and somebody the Ducks can't take too lightly, especially coming off a loss.
Well, that game is going to be played here at Autzen Stadium. Kickoff time is 1 p.m. Pacific time. Will be carried on Fox 1, and so we're looking forward to that. And so for Erik Skopil, this is Steve Summers with EUGENE.com.